Hello, everybody, and wow, what a time to be alive. We have a Forza game coming to the PlayStation 5. This is something I don't think a lot of us ever thought we would see, but it's happening. It's official. Forza Horizon 5 is on its way to PlayStation. So, Andrew, I think you just wrote our article on this, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with you. What's going on here?
But I mean, this all started more or less a year ago when there was the kind of the first rumors that Microsoft was looking to kind of push some of its games onto PlayStation, and there was a bit of speculation as to what might be coming and what might not, and eventually they pushed out four very carefully chosen titles as an experiment, nothing particularly major, and then that seemed to do okay for them, and they think it was late last year they announced they were going to do the same with the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which didn't sell very well, but small mercies. And we kind of thought from the beginning that if they were going to be doing this sort of thing, then really they want to be maximizing their sales. And like the thing they should be doing is putting the big properties on them. Admittedly, not straight away. You've got your own console ecosystem. You want to keep your juicy stuff for yourself. So we did kind of think that Forza might be on the way. But yes, I was in the middle of enjoying a nice evening meal when Forza Horizon 5 coming to PlayStation 5. So I'll run upstairs and write that, shall I? So yeah, it came, didn't quite come out of nowhere, but it did come as a bit of a surprise that they announced it kind of the way they did and how they did.
It certainly seemed like one of those things where they'd hinted at it before, and people have been like, "Oh, can you imagine Forza on PS5?" Or even just moving over to a different anything other than Xbox and being on PC. And you almost thought, "Nah, they're not going to really, are they?" And then, as Andrew has mentioned to us before, there's signals that it's slowly being wound down, and then all of a sudden they go and do that, and it's like, what? Why? Like Andrew said, I was just in the middle of a nice chilled evening. I had a broadcast on iRacing earlier on. I was just having my dinner, waiting to figure that out. I stood up. I physically stood up and looking at my phone and went, what? Like, I genuinely thought, what can I do? Like, because I knew Andrew would be writing something on it. We'd probably come and do this. I literally stood up and just shouted "what" at my phone, and I know, regardless of how much they could have hinted at it, it's still going to catch and have caught so many people off guard out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same, but I think there was a swear word involved.
Oh, there usually is with me as well, don't worry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I've been covering Horizon 5 for GT Planet for since before it came out, so we're getting on for 4 years at this point. And I've been doing weekly articles on the season changes, so it's been something that I've been engaged with a lot. And yeah, there have been a lot of signs recently that they are slowing down support for the game. So there was the first they used to do a monthly stream called Let's Go, which kind of detailed what was coming up. They stopped doing that kind of October time, and then the updates themselves have gradually included less and less new content. I think the update we had over New Year added one brand new car, where 5 was the norm pretty much all the way through until November last. The current one's got 2 new cars. They just released a new Ultimate car pack, which is I very much appreciate because it's a proper use of the word Ultimate. It is the last car pack, but it had all of the car packs together as one bundle, and it was just kind of a more overt sign that we are slowing down support for the game. And then they go and say, and by the way, we're putting it on PlayStation 5. Yeah.
It's like this massive elephant in the room that they're just sort of trying to cover up. It's like the Ultimate car pack was like a really bad distraction, almost as if they didn't want people to know. It's just it just seems like such strange timing, doesn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense that they've done as much as they can in terms of getting customers and players on Xbox and PC. Of course, let's not forget that it is also on PC, and the player numbers are decent. They've been fairly buoyant for much of the game's life. So I mean, they have kind of reached the point where it's the current game, but it's not the current game. It's not like they're going to cannibalize launch sales by sticking it on PlayStation instead of Xbox. So they kind of reached the point now where they've done all the expansions to the game. They've done all of the updates of the game. They've now got close to 900 cars if you've bought all of the packs. I think it's a little over 800 if you haven't, which is still pretty healthy number.
Epic.
So they've now got to the point where the game is essentially feature complete. They've done everything they can on Xbox, so now it's time to see if we can make some PlayStation books.
Yeah. Maybe it's almost like they've been developing it on PC and Xbox for years just to release it on PlayStation. In the end, they've just gone, stuff it, pull the plug.
A bunch of beta testers on Xbox.
Yeah. Oh, how do you all feel? You've been baited.
It's definitely going to be interesting to have such a high quality open world racing game like that on the PlayStation platform. I think. Obviously, I don't think Polyphony Digital will be, what should I say? I don't know if intimidated is the right word to use, but I don't think they'll be encouraged to move in an open world direction. But we do have to acknowledge that we have Assetto Corsa Evo, which eventually will be coming to consoles, which has an open world element. And we have Forza Horizon 5 now, which is obviously open world from the get-go, and that's its main selling point, which is also on the platform. So there seems to be the racing genre seems to be moving in that direction as we reach a point with technology and game engines where something like that is actually possible. You can actually have a high quality open world. So it feels like things are changing a little bit, or it feels like it may be sort of a glimpse of the long-term future of what a driving game or even a racing game actually is. And, Horizon has been really popular and has overtaken motorsport, Forza Motorsport in a lot of ways in terms of what people think of when they think of Forza.
Yeah.
So
I think it would be the fourth kind of big label open world game, because you've got the Crew, which is Ubisoft, and my favourite, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, which qualifies as well. I do like the game, I just don't like playing it all that much. But having Forza Horizon in there as well, it's certainly an interesting time. Yeah.
I think one thing that I covered in the first look at Assetto Corsa Evo that we did, I mentioned it there, that we are so lucky to be in the position we're in as enthusiasts of not just motorsport, but cars. Because we do have so many games where there's a lot of overlaps in what corner of the industry they cover, whether it is purely motorsport, whether it's really regulated motorsport, whether it's a bit more wacky and, you can combine daft stuff together, whether it goes from one end of like the slowest little key cars in the world to crazy concepts that have got 2,500 horsepower like Gran Turismo does. But I think Gran Turismo and the likes of Forza and even Test Drive Unlimited, like you mentioned, Andrew, they are incorporating the open world side of it because that's a more natural habitat for road cars, and games that include road cars and more customization do tend to gel well with that as their location, because that's where you would see them. Race cars and purebred, racing games will stick to racetracks because that's how it is. Gran Turismo, I think, is in a fortunate position where it does both very well, except it doesn't do open world at the moment. They would be forgiven for sort of seeing that as a reason to follow the trend, but at the same time, I don't think it needs to. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, though, because, like I say, it covers the road car element of it so well. And like we covered in the previous podcast that we've just done, there's cars in there that we think, why is that in the game? The Toyota CRH, why? But in an open world element, it would work because people will own that car. They'll see it in a game and they'll go, cool, I've got one of them. I'm going to get it in the game, see how it compares to the real thing. And I think that, there's definitely more of a divide now between games that will have open world and ones that won't. I think Gran Turismo would fit into that quite well, but I also wouldn't mind if it didn't. So, I lost myself with what point I was making there, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean by covering all of that in one big bubble there. It's great to have a bit of both and have games that cover all corners of that. I do think that Forza does the open world thing very well, though.
Yeah, and Horizon does have kind of like a unique thing where it's got more of a sense of fun than I think either Forza Motorsport or Gran Turismo have. it's kind of, I mean, sometimes it's a bit forced. It's a bit like that Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode. Why is no one having fun? I specifically ordered it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, you can't take yourself too seriously when there's, jump this hypercar 600 meters. Okay.
Yeah. And racetracks in the sky. Like,
it's Hot Wheels Island, which
I
is
hate
terrific fun.
I hate it.
It has to be said, actually, the Event Lab idea is great, and it's I think it's been one of the biggest wasted opportunities in the entire history of gaming in Forza Horizon. That you could make anything, you can set any rules that you want, you can virtually have cars racing in zero gravity, but they've never given anybody instructions on how to actually use it. So all you see is the same just bunch of tracks that are based on the real world with barriers and stadiums and Hot Wheels bits, but not really anything inventive. I mean, we do have a guy on GT Planet called Ergo Me Smart who actually does a lot of stuff with the rules, and his races are actually a lot of fun. But I think if they'd have actually told people how to use it, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah. Fair play.
Well, I'm reaching here a little bit.
Go on.
I'm reaching here a lot. But I keep thinking about, going back to what I said and what we're talking about here with the bigger picture of open world racing games. And it made me think of what Kazunori Yamauchi has said during some of his more academic presentations. And, he's often invited to these things that are not necessarily gaming specific, but they're more technology related, maybe more, industry type, like technology industry type things. And he has a sort of a presentation that he usually gives, and he always talks about replicating reality. And that's kind of what he wants to do. Like his goal is to simulate the real world. That's kind of what he wants. That's sort of his big goal. And Kazunori is a man who often sort of speaks in these vague terms. He doesn't necessarily say exactly what he's thinking. I mean, he's sort of become that way. He's had to become that way because of people like me in the media asking him all these things. And so he's obviously not going to say, I want to make an open world racing game, or I want to do a real world simulator or something like that. He's obviously not going to come out and say anything like that. But I can't help but wonder, when he does say things like that, if that isn't something that he aspires to in a way. So I told you I was going out.
No, he likes to think big, though. That's the thing. And if you take the phrase, I want to simulate the real world literally, would there ever be a game that has every road on Earth as an open world thing, similar to what Flight Sim does with the way that, it loads things in as you are around in a huge area via the internet. You get Google Maps or whatever to give you a rough estimate. Obviously, you're not on the ground in a flight sim, so you don't need to worry about it too much. But could there ever be something that does that for cars and on the road? Maybe not picture perfect everywhere, but could it replicate your own street, your own roads to just go and drive around? Who knows? I think Kazunori could be crazy enough to do it, but you never know, do you?
Well, I mean, it depends if it's going to be on PlayStation or they're going to shift to PC eventually.
Yeah, this is the thing. Gran Turismo has been in development now for how many years? 20, well, more than that now. Jesus, much longer than that now, and eventually it'll come out on Xbox, won't it?
Yeah,
that will be the day. Although I can already see the first comment on this video, and it'll be someone saying, if they can't add more than one track to Gran Turismo 7 a year, I don't think we're going to be getting the rest of the world anytime soon.
Shot myself in the foot there, and I want Apricot Hill every time we do one of these things. I want Midfield Raceway. I don't care about my street.
Well, you can build it in Horizon 5 in Event Lab.
Oh, yeah, I can build it at 5,000 feet made of orange track.
Deep Forest, the original Deep Forest.
Well, why not?
All right. Well, I think we've said enough. I think it's time to call it a night.
We've dug enough holes here.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've dug enough.
Yep. Thanks for watching, everybody. And for those of you, I do want to know, if you've not bought Forza Horizon 5 on Xbox or PC, are you going to buy it on PlayStation? Because I'm assuming most of you watching are probably PlayStation users with our Gran Turismo following. So I think that'll be interesting to see.
Definitely.
So that's the question for the day.
Mm.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you all next time.